Most of you have likely heard of skinwalkers. For those who have not, let me provide a brief explanation. A skinwalker is a mythical being from Native American folklore, particularly tied to the Navajo tribe. In these tales, a skinwalker is a type of witch or sorcerer capable of transforming into various animals, often by donning their skins or using magic to assume their form. The term skinwalker originates from the Navajo word ye naldloshi, which roughly means, by means of it, it goes on all fours. Skinwalkers are often portrayed as malevolent entities who use their abilities for harmful purposes, such as manipulation, deception, or committing evil acts. They are said to transform into animals like wolves, coyotes, bears, or even birds, and some legends suggest they can take on human appearances as well. According to folklore, skinwalkers gain their powers through dark or forbidden practices, such as murder or other sinister deeds, and they are closely associated with witchcraft. The belief in skinwalkers is deeply rooted in Navajo culture, but also exists among other Native American tribes, with variations in details and specific beliefs. The concept remains a significant part of cultural and spiritual traditions, often evoking fear and respect. Some believe that encountering a skinwalker can bring misfortune or danger. Now, let's dive into some stories about potential encounters with skinwalkers. I'm not one to post these kinds of things, but I had an experience in the woods one night almost 10 years ago that got brought up recently, and I thought I'd share it. I had snuck out of the house to go smoke weed in Lynn M.A. Woods at about 3 a.m. It's not a huge sector of woods, just a wee reservation smack dab in the middle of the Boston suburbs surrounding the local reservoir. I got to the entrance of the trail, parked my car, and made my way to the campsites. About a 5-minute walk where there were fire pits available. It was a popular smoking area for teenagers, and I was one of them. I set up to draw by the fire I had made and began to roll a joint. As I was rolling, I heard something on 4 legs come up from behind me. I didn't think much of it because where I'm from, the worst it could be was probably a coyote. But then I heard it transition into 2 legs and walk with a bipedal gait. That confused me. Then everything went dead silent. No crickets, no birds, nothing. The only thing I could hear at that point was the crackling of the fire and my own breathing. I became really concerned, like something bad was about to happen. Everything was telling me to run, but I stayed because I thought if it was an animal trying to hunt me, I should stand my ground and make myself appear as though I wasn't worth the risk. I called out, thinking maybe it was just a homeless dude working up the courage to ask me for some food or money, since it was the city after all. I said hello and asked if anyone was there. It was silent for about a minute. Then, whatever it was, it talked. It sounded almost like a parrot mimicking its owner's voice, and it asked to bum a light.
"Can I bum a light?"
it said. At first, I was relieved because at least I knew it wasn't an animal, but the way it spoke was truly uncanny. I said, "Sure, but you have to come out where I can see you. You're giving me the creeps, dude." Then it asked again and again, 3 times. At that point, I was really freaked out and knew something was wrong. I told it to f*** off and find someone else to ask if it was going to be creepy about it. Then it ran off on all 4s. I could hear all 4 feet hitting the ground as it ran away. The crickets came back, the night birds started to chirp again, and the air even felt warmer. I calmly packed all my stuff back up, put out the fire, and made my way back down the trail to my car. I wanted to run, but part of me still believed it was just a dude trying to get creepy with a 16-year-old girl in the woods by herself. I thought if I played it cool and acted like I wasn't scared, maybe he'd back off. My mother always taught me to make a scene in that scenario, and I was prepared to knife whatever came at me. But every hair on the back of my neck was standing up. That feeling of being watched is definitely real. I finally saw my car about 200 feet ahead of me. I felt safe again, but was still on alert. I felt secure enough to look behind me, and sure enough, maybe 40 feet behind me, there was a male deer on its hind legs in the middle of the trail. I f***ing freaked. I'd never heard of a skinwalker, never believed in anything like them at the time, never even knew what they were. But I knew something about that deer was seriously wrong, and I lost my composure and sprinted to my car. I made it back and drove off before I could even turn my headlights on. To this day, about to turn 25, I have never been back to those woods, or really any woods for that matter. I'm deathly afraid of nature now. The very idea of spending a night in the woods makes me so anxious, I feel nauseous. It wasn't until years later when I fell into a YouTube rabbit hole in college that I stumbled on a video describing skinwalkers and alleged experiences people have had with them in the woods that I truly began to understand what I may have encountered that night. I wanted to share my personal experience and get some validation that I'm not crazy, because people never believe me when I share this. So a couple years ago, my mom and I were leaving from a visit with my grandma. For reference, she lives in an old folks mobile park in the countryside of the town in southern WA. It's completely dark out, and I'm driving the car with my headlights on. As we are taking the exit road, I slam on my brakes as what looks clearly like a coyote darts in front of my car. My mom and I both see it. It shoots to the left, and I follow it with my eyes as it runs into the field of cows beside us. My mom doesn't have great vision and lost it in the darkness, but I could still see it. Sharing this always makes people look at me funny, but this was the realest thing I've seen. The coyote stood on its hind legs and was much taller than a normal coyote would have been if it were to stand up. Somehow, between it running in the field and standing up, I noticed there were antlers on its head, like moose antlers. My eyes started to water and I got the worst sensation flood over me, like, get away now. I had goosebumps all over, and even though my mom didn't see it, she had goosebumps too, like her body knew something was wrong. I'm sure I'm not the only one to experience this. What are your thoughts on skinwalkers? Do you believe in them? Have you ever encountered one? Share your experiences in the comments.